The rating agency just confirmed what the markets have been slow to accept. Standard & Poor's, one of the most respected financial voices in the world, has officially affirmed Iraq's sovereign credit rating at B with a stable outlook. This is not a rumor. This is not guru speculation. This is the global financial establishment putting its stamp of approval on what changed in Iraq this week. And if you are a dinar holder, you need to understand why this matters more than any headline you have seen in years. Let me take you inside the S&P report released this week. The agency commended Iraq's stable economic indicators, citing expectations of increased oil production and declining inflation in 2026. The Iraqi Ministry of Finance received the report and shared its contents. The S&P credit rating agency issued its February 2026 report, which affirmed Iraq's rating at B with a stable outlook. But here is what changed. The report explicitly highlighted that the Iraqi economy is steadily progressing towards strengthening fiscal sustainability despite regional challenges. It anticipates that the increase in oil production during 2026 will provide crucial support for Iraq in confronting global price volatility and surrounding geopolitical tensions. This is the confirmation that the structural reforms we have been tracking are now visible to the international financial community. The S&P report went into remarkable detail about the fiscal improvements. The agency commended the government's successful implementation of its spending control policy, which directly led to a reduction in the fiscal deficit to 2.5% of GDP in 2025. That is a significant improvement compared to the 2.7% recorded in 2024. MUFG Research, a global financial group, summarized the S&P action succinctly. S&P affirms Iraq's B rating on rising oil output and strong reserves. The agency projects oil output to rise as OPEC quotas ease and the Kirkuk sand pipeline resumes exports, supporting average GDP growth of about 2% through 2029. The report highlighted the country's strong financial position, noting that Iraq is expected to maintain average international reserves of approximately $100 billion until 2029, representing nearly 35% of GDP. This figure far exceeds the size of the public sector's external debt, thus bolstering international confidence in the country's financial solvency. Think about that. $100 billion in reserves. That is the fortress that Governor Ali Alaq has been building. That is the foundation that makes every other reform possible. The report also addressed inflation, which remains low and stable compared to regional standards, with expectations that the average annual inflation rate will decline to 1.9% in 2025 after it was 2.6% in 2024. And here is the most important part for understanding what changed this week. S&P explicitly linked the fiscal stability to the reforms we have been tracking. The report stated that this stability is supported by the improvement of tax collection mechanisms through the introduction of new digital systems in the customs sector, along with the effective measures taken by the Central Bank of Iraq in the compliance file to enhance transparency and governance and develop channels for the flow of foreign currency. In addition to the smart use of monetary policy tools and a restructuring of the banking sector, the ASYCUDA customs system, the e-Sol digital platform, the SWIFT compliance, the Federal Reserve cooperation, all of it is now being recognized by the global rating agencies. S&P also addressed the political context, noting that following November's elections, Iraq has yet to form a government. The incumbent coordination framework coalition secured the most parliamentary seats, but it remains unclear who will be appointed prime minister. Voter turnout increased to 56% from 41% in 2021. The agency assumes moderate fiscal deficits averaging 3% of GDP through 2029, with the government currently operating under a monthly spending rule that allows for 1/12 of the previously adopted annual budget due to election-related delays. On the same day the S&P report was released, Prime Minister Sudani chaired a meeting of the Ministerial Council for the Economy. He directed that all government entities are necessary to comply with and implement the cabinet's decisions related to enhancing revenues and rationalizing expenditures. Within the framework of the comprehensive economic reform approach adopted by the government, the meeting addressed the telecommunications sector, liquefied gas supply to industrial projects, energy subsidies, and vehicle registration fees. Sudani directed the continued transition of high-load electricity billing to electronic collection systems, with similar measures to be gradually applied to other revenue streams. This is execution. This is the government implementing the very reforms that S&P just confirmed are working. Also this week, the second Kark investigation court recovered 30 billion Iraqi dinars in a financial fraud case. The money was recovered from a company that violated the law by fraudulently profiting from exchange rate differences through cross-border money transfers. The court stated that efforts are ongoing to pursue legal action against other companies that employ illegal methods to obtain large profits that harm public funds. The rule of law is expanding. The message is clear. The old ways of profiting from the system's opacity are ending. But not everyone is happy with the pace of reform. On February 8, hundreds of traders and customs clearance company owners protested in central Baghdad, demanding that the government reverse the new customs tariffs. The new tariffs, in some cases as high as 30%, have sharply increased costs. One trader reported, "We used to pay about 3 million dinars per container, but now in some cases, they ask for up to 14 million. Even infant milk fees rose from about 495,000 dinars to nearly 3 million. The protesters accuse influential groups of facilitating the release of goods in exchange for lower unofficial payments, calling it widespread corruption. Many traders are now considering routing their imports through the Kurdistan region, where fees are lower. This is the friction of reform. The old system is fighting back, but the government is not backing down. Prime Minister Sudani has also ordered the termination of more than 100 contracts for advisors and experts working within the Prime Minister's office, as part of broader government efforts to streamline administrative structures and reduce public spending. The statement noted that the move aligns with directives to reorganize and rationalize the internal framework of his office, with the dual objective of cutting expenditures and enhancing operational efficiency. Several of the terminated advisors had been tasked with overseeing and managing sensitive and strategic government files, particularly in the implementation of federal programs. The statement stressed that overall completion rates of those programs have reached 88%, suggesting that many projects are nearing their final stages. 88% completion on key government programs. That is the execution phase becoming visible. So, what changed in Iraq this week? S&P just confirmed it. The rating agency affirmed Iraq's sovereign credit rating with a stable outlook. They cited the strong reserves nearing $100 billion. They noted the declining fiscal deficit from 2.7% to 2.5%. They highlighted the falling inflation from 2.6% to 1.9%. They commended the new digital customs systems, the central bank's compliance measures, and the restructuring of the banking sector. This is not speculation. This is not guru hype. This is the international financial establishment putting its reputation on the line to confirm that Iraq's economic trajectory has fundamentally shifted. MUFG research noted that ratings remain constrained by weak institutions, high dependence on hydrocarbons, and ongoing U.S.-Iran tensions, but they are supported by sizable reserves, low external debt, and a maintained exchange rate pegged to the U.S. dollar. The stable outlook matters. It means S&P does not expect to change the rating in the next year unless something dramatic changes. The agency could lower the ratings if domestic political uncertainty or regional geopolitical risks escalate. Conversely, an upgrade could follow if institutional reforms and a more stable security environment strengthen. the country's growth prospects and investment outlook. That upgrade path is what dinar holders should be watching. Institutional reforms are exactly what the government is pursuing: the ASYCUDA system, the ESOL platform, the banking compliance, the fiscal discipline. All of it moves Iraq toward the conditions that could trigger a ratings upgrade. The rating agencies' report explicitly linked the fiscal stability to the improvement of tax collection mechanisms through the introduction of new digital systems in the customs sector. The ASYCUDA crackdown is not just about collecting revenue. It is about building the institutional credibility that international markets demand. What changed in Iraq this week is that the world's financial establishment looked at the country and said, "This is real. The reforms are working. The trajectory is stable. The protests continue. The political deadlines have expired. The parallel market still trades at a gap. But, beneath all the noise, the fundamentals are solidifying. The reserves are strong. The deficit is shrinking. The inflation is falling. The digital systems are launching. The compliance is being enforced. S&P just confirmed it. The question is whether you are paying attention to what that means for what comes next.